Chapter 47. Pong's hand was on fire, a fire with no flames. As soon as he grabbed the governor's wrist, the raw light swirling in the governor's right hand went out, throwing the bridge into darkness. A surge of energy pulsed out from the governor and flowed into Pong's fingers. It was the strangest sensation, a burning without pain. Pong kept his grip on the governor as the gold light flowed into his palm, down his left wrist, and into his arm. What are you doing?" gasped the governor, trying to pull away, but Pong did not let go. The guards surrounding them started forward, but then pressed back in fear as the tattoo on Pong's left wrist began to glow. A liquid gold light flowed, trapped beneath Pong's skin. The only place it could get out was through the letters of his tattoo. Thin lines of light streamed out of his prison mark. They shot out into the black night and reflected against the low clouds. "Pong!" Somkit rushed forward to help his friend. He grabbed onto Pong's right arm to pull him back to the safety of the crowd. "Ah!" Somkit gasped, looking at his own wrist in shock. "What's happening?" Light flowed from Pong into Somkit's hand. The same streams of gold light poured from Somkit's crossed-out tattoo. The governor growled like a beast and raised his other fist to strike Pong. As he brought it down, a streak of jet black shot out from the crowd. Nok flew to Pong's side and crossed her forearms in front of her, blocking the governor's fist. In a classic firefighting move, she gripped his wrist in both her hands and twisted his arm back, and then she, too, gaped down at herself in shock. Rippled beams of light shone out from the tattoo under her scarred skin. The governor cried out and shoved the children away from him. He tore himself free of their grasp and stumbled backward, out of their reach. But even though they had let go of the governor, the light coming out of them didn't fade. Nok, Pong, and Somkit held on to one another, confused and awed at the light that still shone from their wrists. For a long moment, the three of them stood alone, glowing like human lanterns on the dark bridge. And then the crowd came forward. Gently, timidly at first, they put their hands on the children's shoulders. Then they reached for one another, holding hands, linking their bodies together. The gasps rippled through the crowd as one by one, each person felt the surge of light flow through them and burst out into the darkness. Even those without prison marks glowed softly, like paper lamps. The shouts of the people turned from shock to awe and then delight. "Look at me. Oh my goodness, look at you. Can you believe it? Look up, look up. I've never seen anything like this." The low-hanging clouds reflected the light that beamed from the bridge. The night was lit bright as daybreak, bright as their city. One after another, the guards on the west side of the bridge lowered their staffs. Some backed away and left. Others dropped to their knees in wonder, and a few joined the crowd and embraced their neighbors. Pong stepped back from the crush of people toward the bridge rail. A few steps away, the governor stood staring at the mass of illuminated bodies. His face was twisted in fury. His chest rose and fell with angry breaths. He raised his arm over the crowd just as he had before when he'd snuffed out the lights of the city. He held his fingers outstretched and clenched them tight. When nothing happened, he did it again and again. No matter what he did, he could not shut off the light that poured out of the people of Chitana. Pong met his eyes. "This light doesn't belong to you," he said. A voice shouted, "Nok!" A disheveled-looking Commissioner Sivapan broke through the line of kneeling guards and grabbed his daughter. They embraced, and then he lifted her up in the air. They laughed as he twirled her around and around. She held both hands overhead like a little child, sending dazzling streams of light up into the sky. Pong turned and spotted Somkit's round face smiling at him from the crowd. Somkit held up his hand and flicked his fingers in and out of the beautiful beams. Pong smiled back. As he took a step forward to join his friend, his body jolted to a stop. Two hands gripped his shoulders. The last thing Pong saw was the rage in the governor's eyes as he yanked Pong toward him and then hurled him over the side of the bridge.